But now I'm more the thing I've become obsessed with lately is the skepticism about UFOs.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk to you about this, because you told me that you've become obsessed with UFOs recently.
Oh yeah, completely. And it's
Believer?
Yeah, totally.
Really?
Yeah, I totally believe the UFO phenomena is real. I don't know what it is, but it has to be real.
Something's happening.
Why is that?
Because there's just way too much evidence that it is real.
What evidence?
Radar evidence that the F-16 locked on a UFO, that footage. And also just, I know that a friend of ours, I don't know if she wants to say it, but her father was an air traffic controller. And he told her, they said, yeah, every air traffic controller has seen something.
Yeah.
And I had another friend whose father was a commercial pilot. And she said, yeah, my dad said every single pilot has seen something. And they've all been told not to say anything about it.
We have a couple of friends that say they were abducted.
Yeah.
Yeah, the abducted one is a little easier to wrap your head around, because when you're sleeping, your brain is producing all sorts of endogenous psychedelic chemicals.
Yeah.
Almost all of these experiences happen when you're sleeping. Almost all these experiences when these people are abducted, they're taken from their beds, which is when they're dreaming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's some real clear, easy steps to follow if you want to follow Occam's razor and not get crazy with it.
But it knocks those out, but it doesn't knock out like Barney and Betty Hill and all the people that are abducted while fully conscious and that remember it without hypnotherapy. I'm not sure about the abduction phenomenon, but
I don't know Barney and Betty Hill. I know the story, but I don't know them.
Yeah.
So I would have to know them, because there's a lot of people that I've I did a show for Sci-Fi called Joe Rogan Questions Everything.
Yeah. I watched that show.
That cured me. That show cured me of a lot of my nonsense with conspiracies.
Well, we used to talk about that stuff all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, but I needed to actually study it. So for 6 months, that's basically all I did. I interviewed people, and Bigfoot believers, UFO believers, and the one thing that they have in common is they all seem to be kind of lost and dependent upon this thing being real.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of being objective. There's only one lady that I interviewed that saw Bigfoot that really seemed to be telling the truth. But I think she saw a bear. I think bears walk on 2 feet all the time. Right. They do it all the time. There's video footage. You can find it all the time. And she was in the Pacific Northwest, which is incredibly dense woods. You see something, you glimpse it. Look, I was hunting once in Canada, in Alberta, and I thought I saw a wolf for like 2 seconds. It was a squirrel. Okay? Understand this.
This very is big squirrel?
What is that? Wolf? No, it's squirrel.
Yeah.
No, I just saw fur.
Right.
I saw fur, and I was, because it's really dense woods. Because I was looking for fucking wolves. Because I know we did see one wolf. It crossed the road. It was either a wolf or a coyote. It was hard to tell because it was at dusk. It was very dark out. But when you're looking for something, you think everything is that thing you're looking for.
Yeah.
So for a second, I thought that fucking squirrel was a wolf.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, expectation and perception are very linked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's also that they found that 50% of everything you see is a product of memory.
Yes.
That when you observe something, they've done fMRIs, and that most of the activity in the brain is in the memory centers, not in the visual centers.
Interesting.
Only about 50% of the activity is in the visual centers of the brain.
The UFO.
That's crazy.
The UFO thing is very. When I was a kid, I went and saw Carl Sagan speak at U of T at the University of Toronto, and I was 14. But he did an equation on the board of the possibility of alien life other than us in the universe. And it came to the smallest, he spent the whole time writing on this chalkboard. It was fascinating. But he actually came up with a number at the end. And it was such a small, he says, there is something out there, but they are so far away that that unless they can go faster than the speed of light, which he said was impossible at the time. This is the 70s.
Yeah.
There's no way we've seen them. That's what he said. So if some other beings have conquered the speed of light thing, then maybe we could see them.
Yeah. But that's a thing with a problem with this skepticism in general is that it the skeptics of the 19th century were the ones who said germs don't exist.
Right, because we can't see them.
And people who said germs did exist were ridiculed and laughed out of the trade. Mm-hmm. Right, and
I agree with you completely. Just because you can't see it or it isn't happening doesn't mean it can't happen.
And even since Sagan's day, there had been no exoplanets discovered then.
Right.
We now know
Right.
that there are literally trillions and trillions of Earth-like planets.
Yeah, well, they just speculated as to the existence of them outside of our solar system before. The real problem is that there's a leap, a technological leap that opens the doors to massive innovation.
Yeah.
That once this happens, and then all this stuff sort of exponentially expands in terms of technological possibilities, all you would need is a few hundred years, and you have an unrecognizable set of technology.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, I mean,
Well, you were talking about CERN. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole antimatter idea that they're still trying to figure out.
yeah,
That's an insane source of energy
Sure.
that we have never even experienced.
Yeah.
You know, with a grain of sand that
Yeah.
can run a city. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that big.
yeah,
Yeah.
You
And
know?
then there's also the theory, there's a recent one, that space-time itself doesn't exist. So the speed of light barrier becomes moot because there's, I guess it's the quantum holographic theory of the universe.
yeah.
That-
Is that
There's also,
Michael
you know-
Talbot's book?
I can't remember.
Holographic Universe? Is that who wrote that?
Yeah, I think so. But the idea that the universe is basically just a geometry that when you look at it from a certain angle seems three-dimensional.
Right, and it folds into itself,
So-
so you could
And it's a way-
travel through. That's the wormhole thing.
Well,
right, too?
it's not even that. It's
For
the idea
travel.
that space-time is an illusion, and that it doesn't really exist, and that's why entanglement is possible. You know, the idea that spooky action at a distance.
Yes.
That
quantum
Quantum
theory.
entanglement.
Yeah, but the reason that these atoms on opposite ends of the universe can affect each other instantaneously
At the same moment.
is because they're not really at opposite ends of the universe. They're really right next to each other. It just seems like they're at opposite ends of the universe.
Because our ability to perceive is basically based on what we have to do to stay alive on this planet. So our meager little chimp brains
Yeah.
are trying to quantify all of these things that are around us all the time. So we put them into this sort of three-dimensional box of movement and distance and
that the
time.
entire universe could be a compact thing that projects itself like a hologram onto a screen.
I love these kind of conversations because I'm clearly too stupid to really understand what we're
And
saying.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand anything I just said.
And I don't understand you two, so how stupid does that make me?
Well, we don't understand each other. So
This is perfect.
We're all the same. Yeah.
But that's why, I think it would be interesting to do like a documentary or something about ufology, because one thing is that the assumption that they're extraterrestrial is an assumption. But the thing that intrigues me is the power of ridicule to silence even the most intelligent people in our community from examining something. Like the ridicule kept doctors from accepting germs.
Sure.
Because they didn't want to be ridiculed by their peers. And even now, you've got people that will, like Michael Shermer, will cling to the most absurd explanations for phenomena like the F-16 radar footage.
What was Michael Shermer's
I can't even
take on
remember it, but it was pretty. It really went to great lengths that entailed having to basically diminish any respect you had for any of the people who reported on the events. It had to go into character assassination in order to eliminate it.
Yeah,
Well, that's the best way to kill an idea.
He's a professional skeptic, and I like Michael a lot, and he's been on the podcast many times. But I actually had him debate Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock about these ancient civilizations, and it wasn't very good for him. Like there were some clunky moments.
Because skeptics are believers.
Well, the problem is they're
In
believing.
skepticism.
They believe in
The
skepticism.
problem is being
Right.
a skeptic itself. It's
Yeah.
a stupid way to look at the world.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
You're actually
Yeah.
sure about something.
I mean, you should
Yeah.
be objective.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't be skeptical.
Right.
Being
Yeah.
skeptical is like, I don't know. But
I know for sure that that's not true.
Yeah.
but it serves a massive purpose for people that really don't understand things, and he can explain it to you with actual science. As long as the actual science is being used, and it's not character assassination, it's not mockery, it's not. There's certain people that are just debunkers. They can call themselves skeptics, but they're not looking at things like, oh, maybe that is effective, maybe that is healthy, maybe that is interesting. No, they don't look at it that way.
No.
They're looking at it. They're trying to pick it apart, and that's fine if you can pick it apart. But if you cannot. You have to be objective about the fact that, oh, well, this is a very interesting phenomenon, and this is what we know about science, and this is what we know about this thing, and right now we have a weird conundrum.
Did Chariots of the Gods man? Did he?
Eric von Daniken.
Was he? Was he a believer?
100%. He's all
Still
in.
is.
Still in.
Still
all
is.
in. I asked him. The first thing I asked him, I said, "What is
Can
the?"
I pause?
Yeah.
I desperately have to go pee.
No, go.
Yeah.
Go. The first thing I asked him was, "What is the most compelling piece of evidence?" And he pointed to this Mayan stone plaque that's in Palenque. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Is
it in the book?
Yeah, it's a god, one of their former kings that is lying on his back, and looks like he's moving some. Jamie, see if you could find that thing. It's this really cool carving that they found that looks like there's a guy who is in a seat, and it looks like there's fire behind his back, and you could say say that he's manipulating controls on a ship, and he's shooting a rocket into the heaven. I would like to see what the mainstream version of that is, because also it could just be art.
Imagination.
It could be that they knew about certain things being propelled by fire. There it is. Yeah, that's it. So if you see this, I mean, that's a big ass stretch to say that guy's in a spaceship. I don't know what the fuck that is. He's sitting down.
Looks like an altar, kind of, to me.
It could, yeah, but it does look like he's looking through an eyepiece, right?
That's true.
But what does that mean? Is it a telescope? Maybe he's just got a telescope.
Maybe it's just an astronomer.
Yeah, it is possible. I don't think they had telescopes.
No.
I don't think a telescope was even invented till...
No. Did they even have glass at that point?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I don't know if the Mayans did.
Wow.
But that was his number one piece of evidence. I was like, that's kind of silly.
I mean, when we were kids in the 70s, Bigfoot, and Chariots of the Gods and everything was so new.
Hey, look at this image. Look at the bottom of it. Even the part where the flame's supposed to be coming out from below him.
Which flame?
Yeah.
Where's the flame?
I guess the flame is the shit at the very, very bottom. But I mean, I'm not even sure I buy that. If you were going to draw fire, you'd do a really shitty job if that's your fire.
That doesn't really look like fire to me. That looks like
could be anything.
An ornate seat. Or something.
Right. If that's fire, like, what is all the stuff around him? What's all that stuff? That looks kind of mechanical though, right? It looks like there's bolts.
It does.
Did they have a fire god? Maybe they drew the fire god.
It looks like a monkey kind of face.
With titties. Monkey's got some titties.
Oh, now I get it.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the monkey's, is that his teeth?
It's the first Hooters.
They look like arms, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
It does. It could be arms. But that's the point, is it's so open to interpretation. There's so much that you could see if you're looking to see. But what I do see is this guy who's...
He's reclining in an odd way.
He's chilling, and it looks like he's looking through something.
What's that thing hanging across him? Do you see that thing across his arm?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is. But here's the thing. I don't think anybody knows what the fuck that is. But so for him to say that this was the number one most compelling evidence.
I mean, were people getting high at this point?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that could be just some guy got high and
LSD.
Carved something.
Yeah, they were taking different kinds of plants that had lysergic acid in them. So what is this obsessing, what is your more recent obsession about UFOs? What's the origin of this?
Part of it is just the fact that the evidence... Just the evidence itself says you have to take this seriously, and yet no one does, or very, very few people do. I mean, even like again, that F-16 footage that even Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is a great skeptic, said on one of the late night talk shows, he said, "Well, if you really want to look at the possibility of some non-human intelligence, that F-16 stuff is pretty compelling."
What is the F-16 stuff?
That's the stuff that To the Stars Academy put out. It was the CIA.
Oh, yeah, Tom DeLonge?
Yeah.
He's crazy.
I've never met him
on the podcast.
Is he?
Oh, yeah. Very nice guy.
Yeah.
What do you see in the footage?
He's a very nice guy and a brilliant musician.
Yeah.
And he's a loon.
Yeah, I've never met him.
He's a fucking full-on believer. I mean, he left Blink-182 to go do this To the Stars Academy shit. He's the biggest goddamn rock band on the planet. Okay, here's something interesting about this. And this was pointed out by a video film by a fighter jet shows an unknown object near San Diego. Video from 2004 was released by the U.S. Department of Defense.
Wow, the way it moves.
there's something about the way it moves is really weird, huh?
Could it be a jet, though? Jets can move that way.
One of the pilots told the media the object was not from this world.
Yeah. And here's the thing. It's like the skeptics, in order to dismiss it, they have to go... Well, they have to make arguments like that jet fighters are not better observers than anyone else.
Pull up Mick Ward's take on that. Mick Ward, the guy who he runs what is it? Metabunk. He runs a debunking site, and he's another one of those guys that is all in with the conventional explanation. Like he goes way out of his way to not look at anything that could be at
which
least
is the opposite of Occam's
conspiratorial.
razor.
Yes.
Occam's razor says, that if you have to go to great lengths to dismiss something,
right,
that's not following Occam's razor.
Right.
Occam's razor says if the jet pilot says he saw this, he saw it.
I think he had an interesting take on it, though. And one of the things was there's a time during the video where the pilot shifted from 1x to 2x, which makes the image move more because you have magnification. Like, have you ever used magnifying glasses or binos? Like, if you use 15x binos, it's very difficult to hold on the subject.
Steady,
but 6, you can kind of look at things in the distance.
Yeah, but that's if you don't have about $3 million worth of stabilization equipment on your jet locked onto this object.
Right.
Which is why that stays in lock.
He had an explanation, though, that was kind of interesting.
And when it breaks free of the lock,
how does it take off?
Unbelievable.
Does it just take off or something like that?
It just, at one point, the object just breaks free of the lock. And that's almost impossible.
I have a question.
It's impossible for anything that man has built to do.
With the quality of cameras today, why is this footage so shitty?
This is infrared footage.
Infrared footage.
Yeah.
Infrared.
Yeah, I mean, you need this when you're shooting at things in the sky. You can't rely on
blurry
visualization.
blob.
You're looking at heat.
Yeah.
You're looking at heat signals.
Because visually, it's so far, it would be essentially
Escaping
invisible.
the rabbit hole, how to debunk conspiracy theories using fact, logic, and respect. So what is he saying? The program, make that a little larger for my stupid eyes. It said, for all, make sure you are talking about the right video. There's two that are confused. Here we're talking about the gimbal video, which is not from the Nimitz incident, which is discussed here. So scroll down a little bit. The gimbal video is that's the one we're looking at. It's an unknown date and location from unknown pilots. Nope. The TikTok one is from San Diego.
Those are known pilots.
Yeah, that's 2004. Okay, that's David Ferver. The media's discussed these videos. Tom belongs to the stars. The link contains the frames. What's he saying? Keep going. The black shaper on the object, some kind of infrared flare glare. We know the shape of a very bright infrared source, like the engine of a plane, can be much bigger than the object itself, as explained here. Okay, so there's like a flare.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't explain the movement.
Yeah, it
doesn't explain the movement. It doesn't explain, again, Occam's razor is... Okay, so this guy debunking it.
This guy's saying it's a
look at
jet.
it. It looks nothing like it.
The movement's
well,
similar.
even if it is a jet's not capable of breaking free from the lock, right?
Yeah.
If they lock onto it.
And if you look at that, you can see the jet. His own example debunks his debunking.
Right. Need not be moving.
Yeah.
The video need not be moving.
And it's also the assumption that this guy, doing probably a few hours research, has come up with something that is more credible than a trained fighter pilot who is there and visually seeing it.
What do you think it is?
And tracking it.
If you had a guess.
I don't know.
Let's get crazy.
I think it is. It is an intelligent craft. It is a craft being piloted intelligently.
Why aren't they talking to us?
We're fucking apes.
Why would you? Yeah, it's like
they wouldn't talk to us.
Like if
we're
you're
assholes.
When you look at it, when you look at
the air.
No, I forgot. You're right.
Leaving fucking plastic straws everywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, we cured it. No more plastic straws.
When you're a kid looking at an ant colony, you didn't go, "Listen to me, ants."
Yes.
You just looked at them. There was and they say, why don't they go to the White House? So why would you, when you look at an ant colony, go, I must speak to the Queen?
Right. Yes.
No.
I've always said that.
You just look at ants.
Yeah, that's what the most ridiculous thing about the old movies. Like the old movies that would land on the White House lawn.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what is
Day the Earth Stood Still.
That's it. Yeah. Baratu Niktu, whatever that thing was. Yeah.
Klaatu
Barata Niktu.
Barata Niktu.
Yeah, that's the Day the Earth Stood Still was like, what is that, 1940 or something?
50s,
50s,
54,
55.
something like that.
Fucking great. Great movie.
Great
I watched it really recently.
Because it's a
Remember
Christ
when they-
parable. I love
remember
Christ
they-
parables.
A little bit, right?
Christ stories are great.
He was a Christ parable.
Yeah, well, his name was
right.
John Carpenter.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
was it?
JC.
That's right.
Christ was a carpenter.
What do they
That's
do? Don't they
right.
shoot that object out of his hand the first second he pulls it out? Do you remember he has a thing that's going to cure cancer?
Yeah, they shoot him. They shoot him.
And they they shoot it out of his hand immediately.
Yeah. And then at the end of the movie, he is killed and resurrected.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, they
He's-
shoot him and he comes
he's
back
taken
to life.
by the robot takes
Yeah.
him. To,
Yeah, the robot.
So-
Yeah,
Love
what a
that
goofy
robot.
robot.
Yeah.
Very tall.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
and like he looked like you would want a robot to look in 1950.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
Smooth.
metal and shit, smooth. Yeah.
Chrome.
Yeah, those were the days we thought that they would communicate. Like, wasn't there a whole rash of them that were seen over Washington D.C.?
Yeah, there was dozens.
Yeah,
Dozens of UFOs tracked and admitted by the government that they were tracking them and watching them. But they essentially, and then at the end, their explanation was nothing particularly important.
You know, we have a mutual friend who claims, I won't say her name, but she claims
No,
she
and
was...
I feel bad because I wrote her off as a lunatic when I first heard it.
Yeah, well, she was claimed to be abducted.
Yeah.
And then I was doing a show with her years ago, and she's just telling us the story. We're all like, that's pretty funny. And she says, and then they took a scoop out of my back. And I'm like, a scoop? They took a scoop out of your back? And she showed on her back shoulder, there was a hexagonal diamond-shaped scoop out of her back. A divot. That
it was hexagonal.
Yeah, that was...
Clearly?
Clearly. And no scar tissue.
Maybe she's a crazy bitch. and
No
she
scar
just-
tissue,
I
man.
know how to make this story stick.
Yeah.
Give myself
Yeah.
a little punch.
But
A whole punch back there.
I worked at a bookstore at the time, years ago, and I went into the alien section. It was the world's biggest bookstore in Toronto. That was the name of it. And of course, I went to the alien section and just looked all this crap up immediately, and there are other people
Yeah.
with the scoop.
Well, there's a lot of other people
Yeah.
with
You know.
abduction stories, and some of them have like little pieces of something in their body. I remember you talking to me about this many, many years ago. I was like, oh, Dave's interested.
Yeah.
It was like implants. You were talking about people that have alien implants in their body.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, to me, it's just, I guess the thing that I'm kind of obsessed with now is just because we're comedians.
Yes.
And
Well.
the power of ridicule to silence debate is unbelievably potent.
Sure.
And we're part of that. We're part of the machinery that was used very, very consciously by the government to silence
Yeah.
any inquiry. You know, it was like, feeding the story the right way to late night talk show hosts. Made it so that nobody would talk about it.
So do you think that the government consciously fed those ideas to like Johnny Carson and those folks?
Yeah, I
Really?
think there's documentation of a pro, that they, to make the UFO phenomena ridiculous.
Do you think they did that to avoid mass hysteria? Like if you're the government and you know there's nothing out there, but you see these people freaking out, you go, okay, look, we've used all of our military might, all of our scientific power, and we don't see shit. I'm not buying this, but these people are freaking out. This has the real potential to get out of hand and go sideways on us. Let's just start making fun of this.
Yeah, I don't know. 'Cause, I think it's more likely that there's something there that they feel powerless to control.
Do you think Kennedy was taken down into the basement of whatever and shown the alien sitting there?
This is what I
I don't
say about aliens when in regards to Trump. If there's anybody that would fucking tell us, it's
him.
Trump.
He tweeted,
Yeah.
tweeted
He
immediately.
would tweet it. He
Yeah.
would tweet it
Looking
in
at an
all
alien.
caps. UFOs are real, but CNN is fake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's still
He is.
the
Yeah.
failing New York Times fails to find UFOs because
I'm
they're
looking
real.
at one right
That's
now.
why.
I'm
If
at
the go-
Area 51.
Yeah. If the government does have the evidence, they are never going to show it to Trump.
Right, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck's the point in being president if you can't find
Yeah,
out
I
about
thought that's-
UFOs?
Yeah,
If I knew that to become president meant you get all the access to UFOs, I might go,
yeah.
okay.
And so far,
I'll make a try for that.
The presidents who have tried haven't gotten there.
No one gets it.
Like
I mean,
Jimmy
Clinton-
Carter. Jimmy Carter, said
Yeah.
he had a UFO experience.
Yeah, he saw something,
Did?
right?
Yeah.
He said he saw something. But see, that was back in the 70s where everybody was seeing shit. They were all talking about things. It was part of the zeitgeist.
It was.
People were legit, like after Close Encounters of the Third Kind, especially, people
Yeah.
were legitimately thinking that aliens were going to come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he proposed such a possible scenario in that movie.
was so good.
It-
Yeah.
it wasn't anything you expected it was going to be.
But like here, I was going to say here, like another example is like the Rendlesham, like that explanation of the F-16's locked, footage, like Rendlesham Forest, where they claimed that these American soldiers in the woods out in England mistook a lighthouse light for a spacecraft. That they were within 20 feet of a craft that they saw and took notes on, did
20
drawings
feet?
of. Yeah, they were not even like right up against it. And they, wrote down notes, saw like different sort of hieroglyphs on the ship itself, described the feel of it, this electrostatic feel of being around it. And the official explanation was they mistook a lighthouse several miles away for this spacecraft. So Occam's razor again says, that's hard to believe that these trained observers, and that's the other thing, they always try to dismiss the idea that trained observers are better observers. But they are better observers.
Sure.
In the age of today, where everyone has a high definition camera in their pocket.
But have you taken a photograph of the moon on
It's hard. Yeah, it's
on
true.
your
It
phone?
comes out super
doesn't look
crappy.
like the moon.
That's true.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no
That's true.
details.
Comes out as a
Because
blur.
the lenses are too wide. But Occam's razor says, all right, they saw something, but because what is the likelihood that trained observers who have been on this base for years on this night would mistake a lighthouse that they've seen every night for the entire time they've been on this base for a UFO? I mean, what is the likelihood that explanation is correct?
I'm not aware of that story.
Oh, Rendlesham Forest? Yeah.
How do you say it?
Bentwoods.
How do you spell it?
Rendlesham. Rendlesham.
Rendlesham Forest.
Yeah, it was Bentwoods. It was 2 nights.
Sounds like a character actor on Columbo.
where there was and it's a nuclear installation.
And Rendlesham Forest.
The nuclear installations are always ripe with UFO stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. What year was this?
This was in the 80s.
1980.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's, and it said, obviously the obvious explanation is, well, not the explanation, the only thing you can accept is that these observers saw something and described it accurately.
Is it something that had crashed?
If you want to say that, no, it came down, was landed in the forest, and took off.
What do you think of the Roswell case?
The night before that, Roswell, I think it's probably true.
Real? You're all in.
Yeah.
Wow, Dave, I never knew that about you.
But I mean, because
It's interesting.
again, because the cover stories for it are so much less believable than an alien.
Yeah, I used to have a joke about it.
Yeah.
That they put on the paper that they have recovered a crashed UFO and alien bodies. And the next day they said, we made a mistake. It was just a balloon. Well, what about the bodies?
Yeah.
What about the aliens?
Balloon.
Yeah.
Those are Mexicans.
Yeah.
They were Mexicans. They were drinking. Apparently, they thought the balloon was a piñata.
Yeah.
They got a little
Yeah.
crazy.
See, I'm believing you right now.
But we just invented some new stuff
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
And then 30 years later, they go, they were high altitude dummies that we
Yes.
were dropping.
That's right.
To test how they would fall.
And now
Right.
we have lasers and invisibility cloaks.
Well, they showed up again the next day with a bunch of weather balloon scraps. And
Yeah.
they're like, look, this is it.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy holding it up
Yeah.
like a
But
little...
what they don't tell you is that they flew the wreckage out to Wright-Patterson Air Force in 2 separate planes and that Truman met them there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again,
Yeah.
the more rational...
2 separate planes.
Yeah, because they were worried
Yeah.
that one would crash.
The weather balloon thing is not as rational
I love
as
it.
something weird happened.
Listen, I want it to be
Me
an
too.
alien so
Yeah.
bad that
Oh, me
I
too.
question myself. So that's my problem.
I want it
with
to be,
all that
but
stuff.
But I won't I'll be skeptical about stuff that just seems crazy, or people that believe sort of ascribe some sort of metaphysical explanation for all this. My thing is just, well, if the preponderance of the evidence says something happened,
Right.
but doesn't tell you what happened,
Right.
then you still have to believe something happened. Not knowing what happened isn't evidence that it didn't happen.
And yet you're still a flat earther.
Yeah. Well, have you looked outside?
It seems flat.
Yeah.